All right, let me just stretch. I need another water bottle.
For fuck's sake,
Give
you
me
are
a
a
walk
diva.
tonight.
Jesus Christ. If you ever get famous off movies, you're going to be like, it's going to, oh my God, it's going to be so bad.
I'm only going to do it to you. Oh, we're here.
We're in it.
It's movie time,
It's
brother.
brothers movies. That's us.
All right, Nate. How do you like my shirt?
It's just a black shirt, dog.
No. You're wearing my shirt.
Oh, yeah. No, this shirt's great.
You're looking good.
I know.
Purple, huh?
It's pink, dude.
You joking me, right?
No, it's pink.
Are you kidding me?
This is a pink shirt.
That's the purpliest of shirts. If like,
I'm Googling purple right now.
that is Barney colored. What color is
Purple.
Barney?
Not this. He's darker,
yes,
dude.
he is. He might. Okay, so he might be darker, but you're purple.
No.
Do you?
That's purple. I'm looking at purple right now.
Oh, this
Let
is
me
a
Google pink.
fantastic segue. Nate is losing his senses.
I'm losing it all, baby. I'm dead.
So it started with his sense of smell.
Which I blame you.
We can get into that if you want.
Yeah.
How did you lose your sense of smell, Nate?
It's the heady year of 2014. I think it was like our senior year of high school, right? This is.
That was your
God,
last.
it's been like 6 years. Holy shit!
It's been 6 years since you remembered what it was like to smell
smelled.
things.
Yeah.
But you can't smell anything.
When did
like
you?
at all?
No, it might have been actually earlier
Wait,
than
can
that.
you not smell anything at all?
No, nothing
At all?
No,
Ever?
ever.
The
Well,
scent you're-
okay, not ever because we're establishing a timeline. No, when did you have your Celica?
High school?
But like, did you have it out when we graduated or no? Or did
This
it?
might have been junior year high school.
Yeah, I was thinking it might have been even earlier.
All
but
right, we'll say
sometime then.
2013.
Yeah. Wiz,
Wiz.
you had Wiz in the trunk of that beautiful car. You had a Tupperware container of Hot Pockets.
Pizza rolls. Hot Pockets. Multiple of
Multiple
them.
Hot
Just
Pockets.
many Hot Pockets. Already cooked. I like to keep in the back ready. They get baked by the sun. Takes a day,
Perfect.
and they're perfect.
Mm.
So much better than the
Georgia
microwave.
heat.
So much better than the oven.
Just 3 months in the back of your car. That's
Trunk
perfect.
pockets.
Trunk pockets. Trunk pockets. That was terrible.
So I ate lunch
Mhm.
at school.
Nice.
Believe it
Most
or
people do.
not. So for half of my day, I went to a different school.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I went to
go
CEC. The
alternative school.
I did not. I was a good boy. I was a good boy. I went to the other location that has all the other extracurriculars. I didn't have to stay at the school all day and do math. Okay.
Yep. It was a good excuse for me to leave school. Sorry,
Man.
Mom. Yeah.
There were days that I had every Friday off from my culinary class,
yeah,
animation
they're toward
class,
the end. I think that must have been our senior year. That was after.
and you also had every Friday.
Oops.
But so I packed my lunch and I took it there.
Mhm.
So I'm explaining how it ended up in my car, but
Right,
I don't
right.
really have to because even if I went to school, my lunch somehow probably ends up in my car.
Right. Basically, pizza rolls that had been in there for many months.
I wasn't hungry enough to finish them all. So there were like 3-4 pizza rolls left in this Tupperware
Right.
container, put in my trunk, and your boy forgot.
And then we were basically passing them around
Well,
one
I was
afternoon.
like, oh, these gotta be pretty rank, right?
Right.
I don't know how long they were in there. Months.
Yeah.
I opened that thing up, and boy, let me tell you, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted.
Tasted?
I didn't taste
wow,
it.
dude. Jesus. If you had
But
given it a lick.
I could basically taste it.
Yeah.
It was that potent.
Mhm.
Hot garbage.
And I don't know how nose science works.
Did you shove your whole face in there and take a big
what we were doing,
ol' inhale?
you were like opening up the container just a little bit, and then you'd basically get your nose like as close as you could to the container. I mean, I didn't shove it in, but you know what I mean. I was up close, and that is the last thing I definitively remember smelling. So I'm just saying I don't know how noses work, but
I don't know how pizza rolls work. I like them though.
I don't even know what pizza rolls are. I thought they were
have
Hot
an
Pockets.
innate
Ooh.
power. His name's Nate.
Jeez, if you're on episode 8 and you don't know,
Sometimes you got to introduce.
Actually, yeah. Wait, what? Okay. But yeah, and then obviously I'm colorblind and already pretty blind.
Yeah. So first it was your smell, and then it slowly started affecting your taste, and
that's true. Taste in movies, it's gone down.
and
Ooh,
now I've recently realized through other modes that you don't see the same colors as most people do.
Either that or I just learned them wrong from the beginning. Just never knew what the differences were. Because, I mean, I Googled both purple and pink just right now. And first of all, I'm seeing like 6 very different colors on the images for purple. Like, they're all different for me. As far as what they're showing me, like this one's like a straight up blue and this one's a pink, and then these are purple.
Blue?
Yeah, like that's blue right there. That is showing me right there.
For you guys who are just listening, which is, well, you know, everyone.
Everybody.
You can't see this, and neither can I. He's not even showing me. He goes,
nope.
Yeah, this one right here is
I'm just
blue.
saying. It seems like there's some general contention on what purple is other than us. And then I Googled pink, and I'm getting there's a very angry-looking woman.
What color is your mouse?
Apparently a singer. This is, well, it's black, but it has blue lights in it. It's
you got that right.
Gamer mouse. That's pink, though. Look at that.
That is, I would venture to say that is purple with it's got a little bit of pink to it.
Wrong.
But your shirt is definitely purple. My shirt. And if you don't say it's purple, I'm taking it back.
Send us an email at
Why do you have my shirt on?
If you think pink is purple. I'm wearing your shirt because I stole it one day and I like it. It's got your essence.
When you were living in my house.
Yep.
I think I still have. I actually have that shirt still. I have two of those shirts.
Two of the exact same shirt.
I should just show up wearing the same thing.
The cheap Target brand shirt. Like it's nothing special about
they're nice. Hey, they're nice.
I like it. I stole it.
I think it was from JCPenney.
No, it's Massimo, which I'm pretty sure is the Target brand or whatever. Not important. I wanted to bring up
what is important is
this podcast is
how your
off, dude.
Alabama trip went.
I didn't go to Alabama again. I'm sorry.
I have to ask every week. I have
to. Pretty soon, though. Going back.
Are you?
No, I don't know.
All right. We'll catch up next week.
Hopefully, actually, I don't have to go to Alabama anymore. But, dude, the podcast is popping off.
I'm sorry. I was just going to ask if you smelled that. I'm so dumb.
What do you...
It smells like something's burning.
Well, we didn't cook anything.
Did I...
Is that your shit in my toilet burning a hole through my plumbing? I'm sorry, you brought this upon yourself.
I did just eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Is it normal peanut butter and jelly? Is that some weird chemical compound when you put them together it explodes?
You probably had
Am I slowly burning from the inside?
Okay. It's probably just someone in the kitchen making toast. Not life's greatest mystery there. What I was gonna say is that the podcast is popping off, dude.
Episode 8?
Well, not this one.
This is episode 8, right?
8, and it's not out because
this is episode 8, guys. Thank you for hanging around for so long, even though this might be the first episode you're listening to.
But thanks for sticking around.
Thanks.
But no, I mean, I just think it's funny because we haven't actually up until this point. This is, it's like the last day in February, or something like that when we're recording this, and we haven't told really anybody about it. Like we haven't
get our
advertised.
Mojo, this is we're getting out there now.
We're just kind of doing it. You know what I mean?
Shout out some special thanks, some special people. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what's it? So I mean, I'm just surprised by our fact that we haven't advertised for it at all, and we're already at like the listener count that we're at. But I want to talk about where we're getting listens because I can see on the analytics.
I think we need to shout out some specific cities, specific people, saying thanks to those that have somehow found us in the lost sea of many podcasts.
We have our first international viewer.
What? Do we really?
We do.
From where?
Try to guess where they're from.
Okay. Do I get any hints?
All the countries in the world.
I get any hints?
It's
Zimbabwe.
Not there.
Okay.
That was a terrible guess. The likelihood of getting a Zimbabwean... Is that a Zimbabwean?
Zimbabwean.
That's awful.
I apologize.
No, it is a Russian fellow.
Okay.
In Tolyatti, Russia.
Okay.
Which I've never heard of. And I think he's actually listened to 2 episodes. So if you're out there, Togliatti, bro,
we're saying that's so wrong.
Yeah, very wrong.
That means he listened to one and was like, you know what? Makes a conscious decision to go, yeah, I think I'll listen to another. Like, you make one click. That can be a mistake. Or you can go, I hate this. But he said,
can be a mistake.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to another.
From what it looks like, that one Russian viewer has only listened to one episode, and I don't know for how long. Huh?
You said 2.
No.
You said you listened to 2.
No,
you did.
Did I literally just say that?
Everyone rewind this. Yes, you did. You listened to 2
memory.
episodes, and that's why I said that.
Okay, I was looking at the analytics around there for a second. Yeah, but
forget everything I just said.
We at least have a single fan who we have no idea who it is, and
just one.
Yeah, because
I don't know
I'm assuming it's just one because the city of San Jose has listened to every episode that we put out so far, which would be 7 episodes.
Okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. Toll Yeti guy has only listened to the one.
I thought you were saying we have one fan.
I'm saying we have one dedicated fan because they've listened to all the episodes. So I'm assuming that's some dedication there. So San Jose guy, email me at thatsmoviesbrother@gmail.com and I don't know, we're gonna do something.
You got to be quick at this though, because we're advertising this now.
Yeah,
we're gonna get a lot of emails from. I'm not gonna say a lot, but we might get a couple emails saying I'm the dude from San Jose.
Okay. Okay, if you're the San Jose guy, prove it. Come on, don't be jerks. All right, I want to just hear from that one guy. Make reference something from an early episode. You'd probably be.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Something only a
true fan would know. Which this is all meaningless. But I just thought that was fun that we had that one guy who just never heard of somehow found the podcast. And I mean, there's a couple others that are just in weird little places around the U.S. that people we have no idea.
See, we could just wait, not advertise our podcast until next week, and then we'd be pretty certain to get that guy.
That'd be true. We'll probably forget to do it.
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'm not doing that. We got to get out there.
We're about to blow up, dude. We're about to blow up.
Well, that's exciting. We've got.
But you know what, man? I'm mad. I'm angry.
You've been mad since I walked in the door.
Yeah.
I asked
like
for
2
some
hours
food.
ago.
I was like, "Yo, can I get a peanut butter and jelly?" And he goes,
You're killing my
dude,
PBJ supply, dude.
I'm so mad.
You know why I'm mad?
No, I don't. And at this point, I don't want to. I've sat here for 2 hours hearing you say you're mad, and I just am ready to push your buttons.
Dude, Elon Musk is a dick.
Oh, no. What?
I'm actually referencing some pretty old news.
Oh.
I found an article from December of last year.
Oh, no.
But I'm just now hearing about it, and it's making me mad, dude.
What?
Do you remember back in 2018 that whole Thai cave thing?
Yes.
And you remember how, Elon Musk tried to build a weird submarine to go and save the kids from down there?
Yeah, so apparently there were some kids in Thailand who went on a caving.
They're a soccer
spelunking
team, and it was part of their it was almost like a rite of passage thing. I think that they made it sound like that they go into this cave in the non-rainy season where it's dry. And
weird
spend. I don't know.
it's a weird soccer ritual.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I guess I don't know.
Every big team has to go into this specific cave and be blessed by the soccer cave gods.
But for whatever reason, I guess it started to flood and they got stuck in there. And it was like you have to go. It was miles of I think it was 2 miles of cave you got to go through that were all flooded. And so it was a whole big operation. But Elon Musk decided to insert himself into this situation. Which to a lot of people came off as a hey, look at me, marketing ploy, pro Tesla, just a way to get his name out there, a publicity stunt, you could say. And he got called out by one of the diver guys who was kind of part of the team, this guy named Vernon Unsworth. And Elon Musk responded by calling him a pedophile multiple times in tweets.
What did he say?
He called him a pedo guy.
No, what did the guy reach out and say?
He basically said exactly what I said. He was like, we don't need any help for your publicity stunt, like Elon kind of a thing. He didn't know big,
just classic internet
no inflammatory, hate. No, but not even he didn't call him, hey, stay out of this, you.
Yeah, but even still, yeah, so just classic
or something like that. He's basically just saying hey, probably we don't need everybody to get in here. And then Musk goes off the deep end and says, hold on, let me actually find the full tweet because it's rather surprising. But anyway, so the point is that the guy ended up taking him to like sued Elon Musk for it, which he sued for a ridiculous amount of money. He sued him for like $160 million for defamation, which is ridiculous. Oof. That's way too much, right? Like the damage to your reputation by having Elon Musk call you a pedo is probably not that high. Honestly, I mean, if he had said anything other than like pedophile, which is pretty rough thing to say about a guy, especially if you're a billionaire, then if you just called him like an asshole on Twitter, I would have just worn that with a badge of honor. Like that would be my new like Twitter bio. It's like got called an asshole by Elon Musk. That's something to wear with honor. But the pedophile thing, I understand why I'd be upset about, because that's especially when the subject was kind of kids, so it does kind of pull into question. But
and this was just some random dude.
Well, he was like, he's not some random dude. He was, he was part of the actual divers thing
that's
for
what you said.
the he had like a legitimacy to him. I tweet, but Elon won that court case, and I don't know. I thought it was a little ridiculous, because I mean, I don't think he should have paid out $190 million, what the original suing for was. But I think he should have had to like publicly apologize to the guy, I think, and say like, hey, like, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But instead he just won, and he said, nope, I'm right, and just get the fuck off for that.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
Man, that kind of stuff.
I mean, there's freedom of speech, but like when you have like,
you're on this other level because you are such a celebrity and a massive billionaire. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a billionaire, but
give you an excuse to go around and just like say.
But when you call a guy a pedo guy, you are calling a guy a pedo in front of millions of people on Twitter.
And and that shouldn't give you an excuse to just be able to, like, freedom of speech shouldn't give you an excuse to just say whatever you want, especially when you got people following you and like looking at stuff you say. I mean, well, here's my point is, in general, you shouldn't be saying that. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have that kind of audience.
Yeah, I think that there's an honest
like that.
Case of defamation in this.
Yeah,
like, I think that you can actually say. Usually, I'm a pretty pro, free speech guy. Not that we're getting too political here, but
all right, next topic.
Politics. But I mean, calling a guy a pedo on a massive scale like that, I think that does go into. I think the main issue is that he asked for $190 million. He was just trying to get as much as possibly could.
Like, give me one.
Yeah, he was hoping. I think he was hoping that Musk settled at a court for like 10.
Yeah.
And then he just won $10 million because he got called a pedo on Twitter. I don't know. It's a ridiculous thing, but Elon Musk is a ridiculous guy. So I don't know. That made me angry today.
Would you have filed for a lawsuit?
Oh yeah, try to get that money, dude.
Jeez.
Try to get that green, my guy. But I would have liked to think I wouldn't have gone for the full $190 million. Although you got to remember that attorneys take like most of that. But in movie news,
we got movie news already, dude.
Yeah, dude. I saw a movie recently.
Did you?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, right? I'm starting a new thing where I go and I watch a stupid ass movie every week.
Oh no!
So, new movie I watched. It's on Hulu. It's called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot.
Okay, so this movie's about.
Take that in the moon for a minute. Just absorb that.
Did you say take that in the moon?
No, I just take that for a minute.
You said take that in the moon for a minute.
All right, I'm just gonna
take that to the moon,
and you can talk for a while because apparently I can't.
Repeat the name. Repeat it.
The Man Who Killed Hitler, and Then the Bigfoot.
So here's what I'm getting.
Yep. What do you think this movie's about?
A man who killed Hitler.
Yep.
But also Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah,
so,
I mean, that's 100%.
The man who killed. Here's what I'm getting from this: the man who killed Hitler. So,
what do you think the vibe of the movie is about? Right. Like
here's what I'm getting. Okay.
Right.
The man who killed Hitler, which I was led to believe was himself.
Little did you know.
Little did I know. So either this is rewriting history. We got a couple options. Rewriting history. It is fiction. So it's not the real story.
I'm thinking it's fiction.
No. Or here's the one I would like to go with.
Fiction be
here's
the
one
category?
I would like to go with. Okay.
All right.
No.
It's actually a documentary.
Okay, so let's go with this. Somebody killed Hitler.
Right.
But then Hitler came back as
the
Bigfoot.
That would have been so much better. Let me just tell you now. But honestly, from that title, you'd think, and from like the poster of the movie, you'd think that this would be like a ridiculous movie. Kind of like, did you ever see Kung Fury?
I didn't know.
It's that like Kickstarter ridiculous. It's only like 35 minutes long, but it's a ridiculous movie. There's like dinosaurs and time travel and like shit like that, right? So you'd think it would be a similar movie to that. This movie actually takes itself really seriously.
Oh no.
So it has the guy Sam Elliott. Do you know? He's the oh man, this is gonna be such a bad example because he's been in a lot of stuff. He's an older guy. He played the other Ron in Parks and Recreation for that like one episode.
What?
You remember in Parks and Rec there was like an episode where there was a bunch of like everyone had their almost like doppelganger. There was like an other Ron, and I think there was even
I
like
haven't
another
seen that show
in a
Amazing show. Haven't seen it in a hot minute.
Yeah, I don't find it super rewatchable, Parks and Rec, for whatever reason.
But I just finished The Office. Speaking of,
yeah,
the other night again. I think third time.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, but a lot of people will turn on The Office and they just do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch stuff, even if I'm rewatching it, a lot of time I like to sit down and watch it. Now I've seen it 3 times through, so I have no really reason to. So it's not that I can't turn it on and watch it, but I've seen episodes here and there more than that. But I'm just gonna put this out here real quick, and we'll jump back to your topic. Still makes me cry. Finale every time, dude. Every time. Emotional guy here. Okay. Anyway, Sam Elliott got you.
So he's this older guy. He's got that real cowboy voice. Yeah, that guy. Been in a whole bunch of stuff. He's in this, and it's basically like an almost 2 hour long. I think it's almost 2 hours long. It felt long. Like almost sob story about like a washed up soldier who came back from the war and his life didn't work out for him, and the lady he wanted to marry didn't work out, and like all this, like he's basically just drinking at a bar at old age, and then he gets called back by the government to go kill the Bigfoot in his old ass age. And it's just, if it acted as goofy as it is, it would have been fun, but it took itself really seriously.
And he plays Hitler?
No. He plays the man who killed Hitler.
Okay.
So they are changing history. The one interesting part of the thing about the movie that was kind of cool was that they changed the idea. They said that Hitler was basically like an idea back in World War II. And so there were like a bunch of guys who were playing
killed
Hitler.
An idea?
No, the whole point was that he killed a guy who was playing Hitler, but they just got another Hitler, and it just kept going. And so like the idea of Hitler never died. It's like this weird, and so he feels bad about killing Hitler.
Are you telling me Hitler's still out there right now?
Yeah, dude, he's out there. But the thing is, the
as
Hitler
Bigfoot.
part and
He's
the Bigfoot
hiding,
thing have nothing to do with each other.
He's hiding as Bigfoot. I'm telling you, bro. It's a new conspiracy.
It's a weird.
Tune into our other conspiracy podcast we got going.
Oh yeah, it's coming out. It's called That's Stuff.
That's weird,
spooky.
brother.
That's spooky, brother. No, but it's just a weird ass movie, and the Bigfoot in it looks really bad, and he has like this. It's really weird. I hate it. Here's one thing I definitely hate about all movies and shows, no matter what, is when they show characters throwing up. Do you hate that?
Absolutely.
It's 100%. So bad. I can't. Every time it happens, it weirds me out. I have a pretty high tolerance for like gore in movies, like with slasher and shit like that. I don't love it, but I can pretty much watch anything. When characters start throwing up and stuff, I hate it. And there's a part where the Bigfoot throws up in his face.
Ew,
it's so bad. I hate it, man. I hate that. So I guess trigger warning if you're gonna go watch The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot.
Look, you don't have to watch it. All you have to know is that Hitler is Bigfoot.
Yep.
And Bigfoot doesn't exist.
Right, and now there does Hitler.
Or does it?
Ooh. Okay. It's overall just a kind of a shit movie. And that's Nate's shit movie corner for the week.
Is it which one's better? That or what did Jack do?
Oh, God. Well, what did Jack do is shorter, so it's got that going for it. I don't.
All right, so they're both garbage.
Yeah, they're both garbage for the most part.
At least one of them, you get to see a monkey do a musical number. You know, you don't get to see that every day.
That did have.
Now, which one is that though? You'll never know.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I mean, if Bigfoot had that, then I think that would win. Yeah, for sure.
Or if Bigfoot was in love with a chicken,
definitively win. Yeah.
That would make some interesting animals.
You know what else bad movie I watched this week?
Bigfoot? I don't know.
It's not like a obscure thing. It's
No, I was naming what a chicken and Bigfoot together would be.
Oh, chicken foot
Chicken foot.
or big chicken. I don't know.
Biggin.
But I watched that one of the Annabelle movies, the most recent one. Annabelle Comes Home.
I don't care. Next.
It's honestly just really bad.
I hate scary movies.
They are not trying at all. It's not. It was the least scary movie I've ever watched ever.
Ever?
Yeah.
Scarier less than Slenderman.
Jesus. Maybe, honestly, maybe. Yeah. It's just at least Slenderman made me laugh.
I just
even
said
though it was terrible.
scarier less than and tried to. All right, so that was a good movie. What do you want to talk about, Annabelle?
It was just so bad. They just do so many dumbass things. I love sometimes. Okay, there's a line in here that was really funny though. Ironically funny. It wasn't trying to be. Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Where basically the little girl in it tells her babysitter, who's kind of like an older sister to her. She's like a really involved babysitter. It's kind of weird. That she's seeing dead people.
Okay.
Like ghosts around in her everyday life. And the babysitter doesn't really react much to this. She basically just says, well, I've learned that a lot of people are pretty good. And so maybe a lot of ghosts are also good. And that's it. That's what she tells him. It's like the little girl just told you that she's seeing ghosts in her everyday life, and you just go, well, maybe some of them are good ghosts. So don't worry about it so much.
She's just trying to comfort the kid, you
That's
know?
so bad.
What are you going to tell him? I'm not
I don't
seeing
know.
You're not.
Oh.
No, you're not.
You're insane. Let's take
Oh, yeah, let's tell that to the kid.
At least show some concern, or maybe go, oh, I'm sure it's fine, but then later, go and take him to it is kind of set in, the 70s, but come on, that is the worst thing you could say.
Maybe they're nice. What, Casper, dude? A friendly ghost.
Jesus. It's just, oh, man, that movie's dumb. And I was just surprised. I think what it is those movies are really cheap. They make them for $25 million or something like that, those Annabelle movies. And they just, and then they make 300 million in return, so it's just a great return on investment for companies.
People like scary movies, man.
But honestly, if you're out there, whoever owns Annabelle, I don't know if it's Warner Brothers or something like that, get us, dude. We'll make it for give us $50,000. We'll make a better Annabelle movie. Right now, I'm accepting offers.
Us as in me and you?
Yeah,
you want me to make a scary movie?
Can make a scary movie. Just give us $50,000.
I'll be Annabelle.
Yeah,
just dress me up as Annabelle, and
it's a doll.
That would be scary. For everyone watching.
You're in the little glass case, just looking all evil at people. Oh man, I wish I could go. We could have a whole podcast talking about all the dumb shit in that movie, but
I don't want to watch that movie.
It. Yeah, it's not worth watching at all.
This isn't that scary, brother. Okay,
that's spin-off. I can have with another guest who likes the scary movies.
Look, you already did one episode without me, and
we're doing more, dude. You can't hide.
I'm doing them without you. I'm just gonna have episodes where it's just me.
Wow.
Talking to myself.
Send us an email if you'll listen to Tyler by himself.
Can you stop
plugging our email?
That email doesn't exist.
It does.
I know. Stop.
It's okay. You don't even look at it.
I can look at it.
You can. Okay. So, what's it? Please stop touching with your foot. Oh, I wanted one quick thing. Jesus Christ. That I actually did is kind of movie news. Is that movie, The Invisible Man, came out this weekend? Maybe?
I don't
or
know.
The last one?
I don't keep up with scary movies. Is that a job I have to do now because I'm on this podcast?
You have to keep up with all movies. Everything that comes out, we have to talk about. That's not true. No, but I'm just saying, you saw the trailer for it, though. It's based on the original.
It's based on this man. Wait. Okay, listen.
This is going to be bad.
It's based on a man.
Skip forward 15 seconds.
And the craziest thing about this guy, because he's supposed to be really scary and stuff.
Right.
The scariest part, you can't see him.
Right. Invisible.
One could say an invisible man. And if you want to get real technical here,
he's
make it
indivisible.
scarier, he could be the
Under God.
Invisible Man.
One nation.
Okay, wait, stop.
I said that wrong.
Okay, I'm going to get off on a tangent here because
here we go.
Now you're saying, okay. Do you think the Pledge of Allegiance is weird? I was reading.
Okay,
Sorry,
go for
no, I
it.
want your opinion.
Oh, were you reading? I think there was a thing going on the internet about like a foreign guy who, like someone from like Europe or whatever, who spent some time in America and thought it was weird that we have the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, it was like things that Americans do that are weird that they don't know are weird, because obviously we grow up with it. And everybody has that in their own countries too. I understand that. But one of the things was the Pledge of, not necessarily just the Pledge of Allegiance, but having like kids like 1 to 18 every year of life every day.
That's one like misconception I feel like is passed around. Like you have these kids chanting this thing. You don't have to. You
technically no, but you are grown up to like.
It is like kind of indoctrinated as far as like most kids are, and they are doing it every day. And your role model teacher, he's doing it from what I remember. I don't remember it so much in high school. I think they stopped. Did we do it?
I tried to think about that the second I read it.
We definitely didn't like all stand up and put our hands over our heart, but yeah.
Politics. I just the basis of like you live somewhere and there's this thing that you just like are like chanting like I say it like pledging like allegiance to this place. You're like wait what? It's just I don't know. You made me think about it because it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's a weird little thing that we do, but
it almost makes it sound like no matter what happens, you're in America.
America first.
So whatever.
We got God on our side.
It's anyway. So what were you saying?
Okay, The Invisible Man. You saw the trailer for it, right? It's about like lady.
You know what it's about? Listen.
Oh
all right.
Can we not do this again? She's really killing the flow here. But you for real did see the trailer for it, right?
Yes.
We talked about it. Yeah. So it's literally about
what is it about?
Woman is with a guy.
A man is wait.
He's like an abusive guy. Let me get through this. For Christ's sake.
I don't know how many times you're gonna ask me if I've seen the trailer, dude.
I'm not. Okay.
Nate,
woman,
I've seen the trailer.
She's with an abusive relationship.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've seen the full trailer.
Down. Okay, but then he dies, right? And it's like she got out of it. He dies somehow, and
he gets
died somehow, but then he
guys, do you like our analytical views of movies?
Back, yeah, we're getting real deep. He like comes back as an invisible man and starts haunting her in her other apartment or whatever, her new life, basically. I think a little while after. But basically, I wasn't super impressed with this trailer. And the trailer showed the one big weakness of the Invisible Man, where she just throws paint on him and then you can see him. So it's like, oh, that's how they figure that out. That's plot over.
That is true.
I'm just going to wait the whole movie. She's going to keep getting scared. People are not going to believe her because they can't see him. And then eventually she's going to throw paint on him, and then it's going to resolve itself. She's going to like hit him with a bat or something, and then it's going to be
right
over.
Now.
Yep, or she's going to like stab him or something. I don't know. There's going to be something where the paint lets her see him, and then she's going to whack him with something heavy, and then it's going to be over. So I'm like, well, okay. That sounds kind of lame, to be honest. That movie has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
It sounds, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like, just an invisible dude. Like, it's a very simple concept, but I don't know if it's ever really been done for a scary movie. And it sounds kind of interesting. But,
I mean, it's literally been done because it's based off of The Invisible Man, which is like one of those old-timey, like Frankenstein monsters kind of a thing.
But, like, you don't see that being redone a bunch.
No. And I'm not saying, I'm just...
Look, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad.
No, I don't either, because I haven't seen it. I'm just surprised it has that high of a thing. I don't say it didn't deserve it.
I'm not even saying I want to go see it. And you know that.
No, I probably don't either.
It's got to be super unique for me to want to...
It just didn't seem all that interesting, and I'm just surprised it has such a high score, especially since I watched the full extended trailer, and I was just... It seemed very meh.
I feel like scary movies are... I feel like it's a weird genre. Like, you see a lot of action movies, like, just coming out, but, like... I feel like you see a lot of the high budget or decent budget scary movies that come out, like you kind of know about them. Like there's not as many of those as others. So like maybe people that just like scary movies are following those and they're like, well, new scary movie, can go see it. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean the Rotten Tomato score is going to be high though. That's a completely separate thing.
It
could just be like, well, I saw it, but I don't like it.
The audience score for, I guess, the 4 people who have actually seen it, because I feel like it just came out today or something or yesterday. But it's also at 89%, so people are liking it too. Right. I'm just surprised because that trailer just looked really
people
bad.
Are also really liking Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's true.
And that movie is
extremely.
That movie is extremely okay.
I wouldn't even say okay. I'd say
Really?
because it's more of like a 4 out of 10.
It does a weird thing where it makes me kind of excited to see where they're going to go with it. Just because I'm curious, because I was looking at some of like the Easter eggs they put in there and all that, and apparently there is Easter eggs to like the Chaos Emeralds and stuff. And,
right.
And one of the things I said was like they treated him like a kid, which look, I guess that's a story point because he was actually young, but that doesn't mean that certain things work
Sonic
for me
2,
or not.
Tails busts into an Olive Garden where we have our main heroes Sonic and James Marsden eating. Right.
What are they?
And he
eating,
says,
dude?
"Stop! The Chaos Emeralds are in trouble." And Sonic goes, "But I haven't gotten my breadsticks part of the soup and salad unlimited breadsticks deal for only $14.99 yet." And they go, "Well, you can always come back. Like we always say, when you're here, you're family."
I thought it's
Boom,
when you're
Sonic
here, you're home.
I know. I can't remember.
I don't
that
either.
I don't want. I don't even want to remember it.
How could you not remember? We sat through so
I want to
many.
misquote it. Fuck Olive Garden.
It's.
I'm not taking
We're
Olive
never
Garden
getting
money.
a
That's where I
sponsor from Olive Garden. I tell you what.
Unless
But
they start a radical.
speaking of sponsors, we did it, boys.
We made it. We have a sponsor, guys.
This episode is sponsored by Audible.
Audible. Woo!
All right, you guys know what Audible is. It's an app.
Audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
You listen. They
It
talk.
is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and
It's the only
audiobooks.
one.
But if you didn't know, which I didn't know until recently, they don't have just audiobooks. They also have theatrical performances, wellness programs, and even podcasts and news. The New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all stuff like that.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that
Do you
stuff.
like news? Maybe try it. I don't know.
You like books, brother?
I mean, that's just value because all those things are like at least $10 a month if you wanted to get New York Times just by itself.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And this is plus thousands of titles.
yeah,
Thousands.
that's all the titles.
And
I
if you
can-
listen to every title on Audible, you'll be listening to more than 3 centuries worth
Wow.
of audios.
George Washington would still be listening to Audible if he were alive today.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is that true?
yes.
I guess it is. But yeah, you can download and listen to titles offline anytime, anywhere. And we want to offer you guys a free trial.
Free 30 days.
30 days.
That's a lot of days.
And with that, you get a free audiobook because once a month with their subscription of $15 a month, you get a free audiobook and 2 free audio
Audible
originals. So
Yeah.
Amazon originals, you get 2 of those. But for a month, you get it all free.
Hey.
And
Yep.
you're listening to an audiobook.
And even after it's $14.95, what's that, like 15 cents a day? Or 50 cents a day? 15 cents.
Still not
Don't
much.
quote me on the math, right?
But what you said you're listening to a book on Audible.
Yeah. Since tried it out. I started listening to a book called Brave New World. Pretty famous book. It's like a nice dystopian future, very 1984 George Orwell type kind of book. It's narrated by a very, very English man, which makes it a little spicier, makes it fun. He does lots of little voices. It's fun. It's interesting to listen to, and I've actually enjoyed it. I've been a podcast guy forever, and I'm not a super avid book reader. So
Well, it's nice that you can listen to them anywhere because I've been trying to get into reading a lot more recently, and I've found my like I picked up a book recently and then put it down because I was cooking and had to like go back and forth, but I could literally be doing that at the same
starting your day, driving
the
to work,
same-
at the gym. Listen to books, man.
same dang time, brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go to audibletrial.com/thatsmoviesbrother, no spaces,
No commas, no apostrophes.
nothing.
But just take the link in the
Yeah,
description.
links in the description if you guys want free month trial.
Support the podcast.
Give it
Boys
a
are trying to go to
shot.
Fahiti. Wait.
What? Fajitas? Like
Fajita.
fajita? We're going to fajitas.
See, I'm too poor to even pronounce it right. I can't. You gotta help us out.
Well,
Nah.
yeah, check it out. Links in the description. But
That's it. Ad done.
we're here to talk about movies.
Movies.
A specific movie,
A specific
I think.
movie that we like. Do we
Well,
like it?
apparently everybody likes it.
Everyone loves it.
So much so,
So
that
much.
it won the Oscar
4 Oscars.
of the best of
Picture.
the best.
And best foreign film. And best direction. And best original screenplay.
Okay. Parasite.
Parasite.
All right, and this is how we start hot takes.
Hot takes. Here we go. It's not that great. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Agree or
What do
disagree?
you? What actually? I want
I
to
just
hear.
want to know agree or
Okay.
disagree. Just give me the one word.
Agree or disagree with?
Whether it should have won or not.
Oh, everything.
No, best movie. That's all I care about
Ooh.
for this question.
I personally, I think I would have given it to.
Nope, I don't want that. I just want to
okay.
know because I want to talk about that later. But I want to talk about the movie first.
No, I don't think it deserved Best Picture. Hot take, I guess. Best foreign film, I'm totally down. I think that's fine.
I am. Oh, I can see why it would be picked.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't pick it.
Yeah. No, I do want to
it.
say that I don't think that if just because you win Best Foreign Film that you shouldn't be eligible for Best Picture. I just think that the competition for Best Picture from last year was pretty steep, and there were some other ones that I definitely enjoyed and I thought were better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a terrible pick though. It's not like horrendous. You know, it's not like I'm not thinking, oh my god, they picked Parasite, like that kind of a thing. But yeah, it's a very different movie than stuff I've seen before.
Why don't you recap it for us? What happened, dude?
All right,
let's get a quick old.
It's about worms.
Unanimous recap.
In your butt. No. So it's a Korean film with I'm pretty sure an all Korean cast by Bong Joon-ho, I believe is his name, if I'm not mistaken. Who's done a lot of stuff. He's been working for a while. Have you seen any of his other stuff?
Not that I know of.
He also made Okja, which was a Netflix movie that came out a couple years ago, and then
have you seen it?
Yes, and he also made Snowpiercer.
Okay, then I have seen that.
Okay, so you have seen Snowpiercer, which is funny because watching Parasite made me go back and watch Snowpiercer again.
I do want to watch that. It's been a minute.
Snowpiercer's bad.
Is it?
Yeah.
I remembered enjoying it. That was years ago.
So Snowpiercer was like I really liked it when I watched it. It was like a really different movie. Which
aren't they making a show about?
They talked about it. I don't know if they're actually doing it, but they've been talking about that for a while. But it's based on a French graphic novel actually. But it's basically an ice age takes over the world, and the only people left are on this giant train that's circumnavigating the globe. It has like a forever engine, and that's the last like bastion of humanity. But we're following Chris Evans is the main guy. He's in the back seat and he's in the back of this train with like all the poor people are in the back of the train, all the rich people are in the front of the train, and they basically revolt against the rich people.
Yes.
And that's the general idea of the story.
I like how you just did exactly what I said for a different movie.
I know. Well, the thing is that I feel like both movies are trying to address kind of very similar themes of like classism. And in different ways, obviously. I mean, Snowpiercer is a much more intense, for the most part, I'd say probably, and extreme movie.
A little more flashy.
Yeah. The problem I have with Snowpiercer is it just doesn't make any sense. I just want to talk about it very quickly. Just nothing. There's no like the way that they do the train and how it works is just ridiculous. Like they, there's a whole thing I plan on doing about Snowpiercer to really go into depth, but. So I'll just leave it at that because we're not really going to talk about Snowpiercer and stuff. But the movie, unfortunately, just doesn't make any sense.
I have to rewatch it to have a solid opinion on it.
Moving forward, we'll talk about it again when we can kind of clarify that opinion a little bit more. If I just enraged a bunch of Snowpiercer fans, because that movie is also like Parasite, very well regarded and people love it and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm sure I just made a lot of people upset. Sorry, what's it? Parasite is about a very poor Korean family who is, trying to make their way through, and they get an opportunity through one of the son's friend who's a lot more wealthy and is going off to America. He gets him a job tutoring because the son is actually very intelligent, but he's so poor he can't afford to go, away to America to school or one of the top Korean schools or something like that. But he basically gets a job by kind of lying about his credentials and having this reference through his friend to tutor a rich Korean girl through her, I guess, entrance exams. So I guess they have a different system. Yeah. I mean, it's similar. I guess it's basically the SAT in Korea is what I kind of took from it.
Right.
So basically, but through that, he starts working his whole family to get jobs in different roles around the family, around the rich, people family to, get them to the point where they kind of infect this family because they're all lying about their credentials and they're, kind of using the family to get these higher and better positions. They need to. They're in a very bad situation. His son is a tutor.
Is the tutor, and he then gets his sister a job, who gets the dad a job, who gets the mom a job, sort of thing. And they all slowly weed out the housekeepers, the drivers, the tutors, that kind of thing.
And especially with the parents, they get the other people fired. The existing people, they find very clever ways to get them ousted so that they can get their parents into those positions.
So basically, they work for this rich family, and then things take a turn.
Yeah.
They find out.
This movie came out last year. We don't have to do a spoiler-free section.
No.
For it. We're totally going to ruin this movie. Basically, they get all the way into the family. There's one time where the family goes away on a brief vacation, so they drop the act of who they're supposed to be, and they just kind of, basically squat in their house for a weekend and like eat their food and drink their booze and stuff like that. And they find out that the house has a secret underground bomb shelter that the family that owns it doesn't know about. And down there is the husband of the former housekeeper. He's been living down there for like 5 years without ever coming up from this bunker because he's running from debtors that he took out bad loans from, basically. And that's where the real start of this like kind of insanity of this movie begins. And it is... I did like it. It's an interesting movie, and I definitely didn't know where it was going to go. I just had no idea how this movie was going to end while I was watching it, which I thought was good. There was no like clear present, like, it's this kind of movie kind of a thing. So those are all good. But I think my main big issue with this movie is the ending.
Well, let's finish recapping it a little bit. Basically, the
sure.
family comes back sooner than expected, and so the family has to hide in the house, do all that kind of stuff. The family kind of starts to get a little suspicious, and the poor family that's now working for the rich family, is basically fighting the old housekeeper and the husband.
Yep.
Because the old housekeeper is realizing that they're taking advantage of this rich family.
Yeah, that they
so
lied.
they kind of like are like, oh no, what do we do? Try to cover it up. Basically, shove them in the basement.
Yep. They almost killed the lady.
Yo, I thought she was dead. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
No, they did kill her.
No. Oh, yes, she eventually did die.
But I thought she was instantly killed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my
goodness. Because they push her down concrete stairs and
we'll
she whacks the back of her head. It's
but
ridiculous.
basically, they get down, they get so deep to where like, you're like, I don't think I should be rooting for this family. And then this happens, you're like, yo, this is messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end, the husband then escapes, and a lot of killing ensues.
Yeah, the husband
kind of goes crazy.
It's interesting because what's weird is that the rich family, while they've been giving this poor family these jobs and paying them well, and you can see throughout the movie that their living arrangements, while haven't gotten great, they have gotten better. I know there's like one part where they used to be folding pizza boxes for that little pizza restaurant, which is paying nothing basically, and then they go from that to actually like eating at the restaurant because of their newfound job. So you see them like get better throughout their jobs from having that, even though they don't technically really deserve the jobs that they're given because they totally lied about their credentials, and the sister is completely maybe fucking up this kid that because she's like an art therapist that she's like trying to pass off as, and she's just making it up as she goes along, and she's like passing off real therapy onto this kid by just making it up. So,
if anything, I feel like she's like, oh, you can't be in the room when I'm doing this. If anything, she's probably not doing anything to the kid. She's probably just letting him do whatever and just saying ridiculous stuff to the mom, which then the mom could be trying to do things to try to help the kid, which could be messing him up. So anyways, a lot of crazy stuff ensues at the end, and people just kind of lose it. And
it's interesting because this movie is I don't know if it's trying to and maybe you have more insight on this, who we're really trying to, I don't know if you're trying to root for anybody, because the movie doesn't want you to like the rich family either. They're not perfect. I mean, I'm kind of divided on this.
I don't know, because
they don't really do anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't see why they would explicitly be trying to make you not like the rich family.
Well, I get from the tone that you're not, right? Because I think you're supposed to from the way it's presented to you through the film, you're supposed to feel bad for the poor family.
Yeah, of course at the beginning. For sure.
Throughout. I mean, even when it rains, their entire house gets flooded. She's sitting on the toilet that's shooting up shit water, and she's trying to smoke a cigarette on it, and she's just kind of complacent because she knows, well,
at that point I had kind of lost empathy for them, because at that point that was
because
when
they're
they came,
bad people. But at the same time, I think the movie is trying to convey that you should be feeling sorry for them by showing these terrible things like, the rain for the poor people is
I think it's supposed
a
to
huge deal, but the rain for the rich people is a minor inconvenience.
Right.
Like
I think it is supposed to tear you a little bit. I don't think it's supposed to. Here's the way I looked at it. I don't necessarily think it's necessarily trying to make the rich look bad, but it is trying to make you feel bad for these poor people. And you go, wait, but they're horrible people. I shouldn't be feeling this, but I hate the situation that they're in.
Right.
But they're horrible people.
Yeah, it's like
it's more of a tear between just how you feel about the one family, whereas given the situation and the rich family is part of their situation, I don't consider them the antagonist. That's how I saw it.
I agree. I did not see them as the antagonist either. I mean, I guess the one thing that I would say that they did was kind of shitty was that they, when the guy was murdering people, the guy who was locked up, he finally got out to a house party and he stabbed the daughter, the poor daughter. The rich family was totally like, "You're on your own. We're getting out of here."
Well, I think it all happened so fast. What happened? So I guess the kid, they were like, "Oh, we got to take him to the hospital," but he just like fainted, right?
The kid. Well, he should honestly be dead. The poor kid had his head smashed in with a rock.
Not him.
Oh.
I'm talking about the rich kid. We're really bad at remembering character names when it comes to stuff like this.
Especially, this is a foreign film with all Korean names. We are not gonna know. We are gonna refer to them as the poor family and the rich family, and
but the rich family, they were like, "Give me the keys," and they picked up their son because the son of the rich family saw the daughter of the poor family, his like art therapist tutor, get stabbed, and so he then sees the ghost in quotation marks that he saw years ago on his birthday,
right,
and he loses, like he faints, I guess. So they're taking him to the hospital because he faints.
Yeah,
but
and
also
he does also have he had a history because he had that panic attack that was really serious when he was young.
Right. So I can see them. I can see
get
that.
It's not that big of a deal. Like,
yeah, but and I'm wondering if from where they were standing, did they even see that he didn't get injured?
Yeah. No. They knew that the daughter got injured.
Well, I know that they knew the daughter did too, but they were like behind them when it happened, right?
The poor mom was actively struggling with the guy who had the knife, like the So I mean, if you think that in that situation, you'd like to think that if you were put in that situation, you would try to help the mom, and you would also try to help the daughter who just got stabbed.
Part of me definitely goes, thinks the way you're thinking,
right,
for sure. But then there's another small part of me that's like
I'm not a dad who has a son who has like
well, not even that.
Yeah.
It's that situation. Like so much is going through your head, and then afterwards they could have been like, oh my gosh, why didn't we help these people? Or like it was happening so fast, we didn't even know what was going on.
But I'm making such a big deal out of it because that's the tipping point that causes the poor dad to kill the rich dad. That right there.
All right, I think we need to back up because I do want to talk about that, but I feel like we could just keep going if you just want to flow with it.
I mean, I think this is the main issue because I don't have much else to say about I think the movie was well directed, nothing special though. I think it was well acted. I do want to know your opinion about the acting because Korean mannerisms are very different from American mannerisms as far as how people convey emotion. So it is a little different to watch, but
not much. Like they did a really good job at making it seem very.
Well, I would say
you can convey a lot of things from the way that they
if you
portrayed
compare,
stuff.
If you want to compare the blight that this family had upon them and how they handle it to something like this is probably a bad example, but to Joker and how he handled his situation. Again, two very different things, but the way that they approached it and how they conveyed emotions through, facially and through their actions and stuff was different.
Sure, it's different. Yeah. But I think
not bad. It's just different too.
It was only to an extent of if you know people. Of in different cultures, and if you're a person that knows that people have different cultures and different ways of reacting to things or have different mannerisms, that's all you need to know. It wasn't so far off or anything weird like that to where it was.
Yeah, I didn't find it distracting. No,
very very organic, which was very nice. But yeah, so that is kind of the interesting thing is that I've been questioning was why did he kill him?
Right. So there's some little things that we've seen lead up where, like I said, where I guess one of the things that you start off with is that they comment on the dad's smell because he lives in a shitty place that and they don't have a lot of access to wash their clothes or themselves, and even if they could, it's hard to even get kind of where they are off. I mean, we see throughout the movie that there's drunk Korean guys like, pissing on their their front porch kind of a thing, all the time. So they're in a sad situation and it causes them to have a bad smell. But the rich dad doesn't even comment on his smell like to his face or anything like that. He says it where he thinks he's alone when they're hiding under his table in his house.
Right.
Or he might like subtly react in the back of the car while he's driving around or something like that. So that's one thing that like starts to build up that resentment and that kind of, I guess, hate toward him. I mean, you have to be at the point where you hate him.
I mean, I get that if you're
that explosion of emotion, really. Not so much that I hate you, but I hate like my life so much and how easy you have it. I think it was a lot.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. I don't necessarily even think that it was, and you're not saying this like that one thing specifically. It was just a lot of stuff. I think it was once things started kind of tumbling when they found the other people downstairs and they didn't know what to do.
Right.
Like it's like when you get yourself caught up in a situation where you don't know what to do and you just freak out. Like I get that. Like I've been in that kind of moment before, not to this extreme, but I get that. And where you just don't know. And at this point, like what was going to happen if, the psycho guy who was living in the basement, I guess you could say,
right,
kills his daughter, the poor family, the daughter gets killed. And this is after, you realize you shut these people down in the basement and deep down they know what they're doing is, I say quote unquote wrong. Maybe they don't think that it's wrong, but they know that
you never see any remorse.
But you know that they know that they're infiltrating this family and that if they find out it's bad. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's bad for them.
They know there will be consequences.
That's what I'm saying. So at this point, everything's happening. So much is happening. They see that their daughter was killed and then he just kind of loses it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a lot of things. It did come a little bit as a surprise to me that it went to that extreme,
right? That
he just makes that conscious decision to just kind of look up and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to kill you now." But I don't know.
Because when you consider all the motivations, I don't know if it's all there. It's just, I mean, like I said, they're not put in the best situation, and it probably is very difficult if you spend all your time where you're in that bad of a situation. I can't, relate to that. Obviously, neither of us can. You'd be hard pressed to find a lot of people who have it as bad as they have it in this movie. But it's got to be hard to then work around someone who's super wealthy, in comparison to you, and have to put up with that, especially if you know that they have a little bit of disdain for you because of, you smell bad because of your situation. It's not even your fault. So, I mean, I understand that, but that's a big leap to go to stabbing the guy.
Yeah. So I agree because I thought it was a little bit surprising, but when I try to analyze movies this way, I try very hard not to analyze them based on like just my experiences in my life. I try to look at other experiences. Sure. There's psychos out there that are just like, that are killing people for lesser reasons, right?
Well, we don't have any reason to believe this guy is, is a sociopath or...
No, but he has some tendencies, like when they were laying after the streets flood and there was a bunch of people that were kind of homeless at that point, and he was talking to his son and he was like, I don't have a plan. Almost like he kind of like...
His hopelessness.
Yeah, but he almost seemed a little bit... like he didn't, to me, I got this feeling like he didn't even care. Maybe at that point, maybe he lost it.
Yeah.
But he shoved these people in a basement. He drug a body back that for a while he thought might be dead. He checked for breathing and it was, she was breathing. But his wife kicked this lady down the stairs, smashed her head into a wall. I thought she was immediately dead. That he thought that she might be. He checked and drug these people into a basement. And then after that, he was like, I got nothing. It almost seemed like he didn't seem super remorseful at that point. By the end, he did, because he was like, oh, it all feels like a dream. Can't believe this happened. I'm in hiding, because now he's hiding underneath their house because that's the only place he knew where to go. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think, especially when you're a person that thinks that you can just get away with abusing people in that way, like this rich family that they kind of just snuck their way in and kind of abused, that it's not right.
Well, that's
so when you're that kind of a person and you do that kind of thing and you kind of think it's okay and then don't have a lot of remorse, there's something like a little bit of something going on in your head where you're just like, they're not completely there. Like, yeah, that's not a normal thing that you should be okay with.
Right. I guess what I think is really smart about this movie is that it does show that, people who, probably are good people can start falling down this path of, they start doing these, immoral, unethical things like how the family does in the beginning about getting themselves jobs and getting other people fired. I mean, well, it starts off and it's kind of like a, slow progression that gets there where,
It's a parasite that grows.
well, okay. It's not exactly what I'm saying. Like they're, good people at heart, but they're in such a bad situation. I'm not even quite sure I can say they're good people at heart. But I like to think I'll give them that benefit of the doubt because I don't know. But they start with just lying, and then they start getting other people fired, and then they start going to the period where they're pushing people downstairs, and it just feels like we take a big leap all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I don't even know if I'd give them the benefit of the doubt being good people at the start, only because like the second that he got the job and the second that the girl got the job, there was no point where they didn't second guess themselves. It was all like, you can get me one now, right? Oh, I don't care about that person.
I think when the son is talking to his friend about getting the job originally, I think he hesitates to go down the road of like lying and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe at least you could say the son
and let me clarify this. I don't think people in general, I think people in general are overall good, just as a species. Got hope, man.
Nah,
but
we suck.
But what I'm saying is, I think that, and even a person like, I don't think everybody is just 100% bad. So
Hitler.
I think I'm just what
Hitler.
Bigfoot.
He's 100% good. That was a Jesus. But
I think that that there's
so many factors that go into who you are and how you turn out, right? And I totally believe that in the beginning of this movie, how they infect this household, I find that 100% believable. That
which is really good that they could pull that off.
It's great.
Like, they did a good job at that.
The great part. But when you start when the movie starts to try and pick up and start having more bombastic movie elements like pushing people down, which even the pushing people down, because I kind of took it as not 100% intentional. It's not the same as stabbing someone with a knife as pushing someone, even though both can be fatal and inevitably were. It's not quite the same thing. I don't think that her intention was to kill her. Just really get rid of her. They were just trying to protect their situation. So there,
she was like, get out, kick. Like, it was a quick reflex. But I was like, oh my gosh. Let's talk about that.
But the dad stared at him, and he made the decision in his mind, to kill him. I'm going to kill this man. Yeah.
And so, again, I like to base when I kind of analyze these things, I try to base it on not just, me and my experiences or my life or even what I've seen, but like what I've seen personally, but like, other elements, and knowing that there's a lot that goes on in other people's lives that like sometimes you just kind of, and it's different for different people. And this is not an excuse that people can act however they want and we don't have to have reasoning for it, because for a good movie, you need to be shown a lot of reasoning for things to make sense.
If you're going to show grounded, real people in kind of our current day world, and they're going to make such a drastic decision, you are obviously going to think, you're going to subconsciously kind of put yourself in that position and say, would I do that? And if it's no, then you're taken out of the movie, right? That's a part of your immersion.
No,
broken,
or you have to be. You say, would I do that? But there's a lot of things where you have to watch a movie.
Does that feel realistic? Does that feel like something that someone would actually do in this situation?
And to an extent, I understand getting this element of surprise that you didn't expect that. I think at the end,
but if it's unwarranted, then it's not
I
worth
agree,
it.
And I just think that. And the thing is, I'm not even necessarily like fully disagreeing with you at all. I think that the idea was to show that certain stuff happened to where he felt like he was in too deep and then just kind of lost it. So I get what they were going for. I get some of the elements that sort of support that, but I don't think that it showed enough evidence either. I would agree with you. It was a little too surprising for me. It didn't. Yeah, it was a big moment in the movie where I was like, oh, he just killed that dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So I don't think it had quite enough there either. And I will agree with you. I'm just saying that I understand what they were trying to do. I understand some of the elements of evidence that they tried to put in there, and some of it made sense, but some of it, just wasn't there.
I think unfortunately, and I feel like this whole conversation might come off a bit nitpicky, but I think it's actually really important to this movie because this is like the entire crux of the plot. Basically, is this decision he does at the end to kill that guy is basically the culmination of the whole story, of the whole point of you take this family, they're in this situation, and how far they'll go to keep it. And this is showing you this is the penultimate or the ultimate thing that they will do to keep this situation. This is as far as they will go. And so whether or not there was enough motivation to actually deserve that payoff is really important. And so that's why I think we're hankering on it, just to kind of clarify a little bit. But so another thing that I think this movie is kind of trying to do a lot is this like classism theme that they're running through the whole movie, right? You know, I mean, would you kind of agree with that? And I mean, it's almost, I feel like he tries to do this in a lot of his movies.
There was a definite element of that. And I think it was to fuel the motivation of that poor family kind of thing. I don't think that it was if he was trying to do this, then I don't think that he did a good enough job. If he was trying to make the rich family look bad, he didn't to me. They seemed like very nice people that were just being taken advantage of, and that these people were upset. They didn't even seem super upset with them just because they had money. If anything, it was their opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think it just added more motive, which I'm okay with because I've seen enough stuff where you have people that are just upset because people have money, and you can have good stories based on that. And this classism kind of like clash because of it's not just about having money; it's what they do with it. You know, what they take for granted. And I get that.
Yeah.
I didn't want that, so I'm glad they didn't go they didn't really talk about hating the family much. I get that there were, like you said, inconveniences and stuff that made them look certain ways, but it wasn't to the point that made it feel like it was just a movie about just that strict.
So outside knowledge from outside the film itself, there have been interviews with Bong Joon-ho, who wrote it and directed it, and he's talked about a lot of this movie is based on like ideas of upward and mobility between the classes and stuff like that, and how hard it is and stuff like that. I mean, it's shown through symbolism through the stairs in the movie. Like you only see the rich family go upstairs and you only see the poor family go downstairs. It's kind of that little dynamic to an extent. That's just a little tidbit, but I know that from that outside knowledge that he's definitely trying to get this message across, and that's why I think it's a big deal, because it just doesn't.
It doesn't, and I'm okay with it though. Is that bad?
Well, themes aren't the make or break for a movie by any means, I don't think. I think the ultimate thing that you should be looking at for whether or not something is good film-wise is just the story itself. Self-contained, looking at it that way. Does it work? Is it enjoyable through that? The message of the movie, I don't think, is as important. It can definitely be considered, and it can enhance the experience. Like if the movie makes you think afterwards, that can be really. I like movies like that a lot, that make me think about myself or the world I live in or something like that. This didn't do that for me at all. Like it didn't make me feel perfectly, because of how unsympathetic this poor family is, and kind of how sympathetic the rich family are. Because if I were to do this, if you really wanted to make this rich family unsympathetic, there's so many things you could have done. I mean, they could have been so much more, and maybe it would have been more cliche this way if they were more openly mean, or if like
the rich family,
the rich family,
exactly. If they're calling them like gullible and stuff when they're back at their house talking like, oh, this person's so gullible, so they're able to get in further, and and they're. It'd be one thing if they made the rich family seem mean,
or like if
you're like, they deserve that, or like something like that. Which I'm not saying people like that do, but that's the kind of theme that some kind of stories follow, and it didn't have that.
Yeah, well, it does have it is kind of trying to place some blame, I think, on upper classes and making it harder for lower classes to move anywhere. Making it all about references, or it's just like networking and stuff like that to get jobs and stuff like that, because I mean the poor family is unemployed and they don't know anybody to get into anything. This is the only way they got into the job was just based off of referencing from other people that they heard from. So I don't know, it's just I do think it is trying to get that across, and I think that unfortunately it doesn't work.
it was more just interesting to see how they went about, almost in a heist movie kind of way, how they went about getting in.
Yeah, that was the first. I guess that's probably the first hour of the movie, or definitely the best.
It was interesting
part.
because I was kind of like, oh, this movie's only like 45 minutes in, and the whole family has a job here, and I was like, something obviously has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I do appreciate that they were able to make you not know what was going to happen when you were watching it, like you said, like you didn't know what was going to happen next. But yeah, I guess if that was the specific theme that they were going for, especially if they were trying to make the rich family look bad, they didn't.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment in that movie where it's like they were kind of going through this, with the people in the basement, the old housekeeper and the husband. They're kind of fighting because they found out, and then for an instant, because this main family is the protagonist, you're kind of like, oh no, the family's gonna find out, the rich family, and then you go, good. Like you're like,
yeah, honestly,
I
mean, like
I was like,
God, they could have at least made the rich dad like maybe a bad dad or something like that. But he's actually a good, like from what you've seen, he's a good dad. He stays up and lets his kid have his little tent outside and like stays up to watch him and stuff like. He goes through a lot of lengths. He is busy, obviously. He can't be around all the time, and they do have to have outside, help and stuff like that. But he, for especially when you compare it to other like rich movie dads, he's doing a pretty good job.
For sure.
And so I don't know. It's just, man, it seems so odd that they went that route and totally missed it. I will bring up, there's one nitpick thing that the house has to do with like the very end of the movie where, obviously the poor dad, after he murders, he sneaks back into the house and goes into the bunker that no one knows about, and that's how he evades arrest for, I guess, the rest of time, however, until he dies. Pretty much, they don't really say. It kind of leaves it
or
open-ended.
until his son buys the house.
Well,
who knows?
That's kind of a fantasy, right?
Yeah, but who knows?
But how the kid finds out that his dad is in there, I think, is kind of bullshit. He randomly climbs the nearby mountain over the house. What is he hoping to look at? He's looking at the house?
I think he was looking at... I don't think that's too crazy.
He had no inclination to think that his dad went back into the bunker. That's an insane move to do.
No, I don't think he thought I think that it's where his sister died. He was going through some brain trauma, and I think it was maybe a form of closure for him to kind of see this, as well as... the girl that I don't want to say loved, but had a romantic anymore. No, I know. Yeah. But like that's the last place where he had this connection with this girl that he loved. His sister died there. He had recently gone through his brain trauma and all this stuff happened there. I think it was kind of a form of closure, kind of like go back like I've gone back to places where like significant things happen. Now this was like a traumatizing thing, and you just kind of sit and look and kind of remember. And I think that's kind of what it was. And the second you see this flashing, especially in that kind of way, and the guy down there before was doing Morse code, you go, I'm gonna write that down. Did he not know? Because that's the thing is, I was like...
He knew Morse code because they talked about him being like part of like a scout or something like that, so that's fine. He was not part of the conversation that was talking about doing the Morse code where the guy...
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just the dad who was down there because he was up, and then he came down, tried to kill him, and that all failed, of course. Yeah.
So I'm wondering,
part of that conversation.
To be honest, I'm wondering if someone that doesn't know Morse code, me, if it seems kind of obvious, like if like you see things...
like pulsate,
in a certain kind of like syncopation, you go, that's a very deliberate. Like you might not know, you have to like, kind of write it down, but it seems deliberate.
Well, even if I give him the liberty of he went up there, he noticed the light, he recognized that it was Morse code, something that he doesn't use very often, I'm sure, because there's no practical application. Something, and then what are the odds that he happens to be doing the Morse code while he was there? Is he doing it?
Yeah, the dad said that.
Yeah,
the dad said that he did it. In his message, he's like, I'm going to do this. I don't remember if he said one time every day. I think he said multiple times. I think he said 2 times a day, and he said he did it for days.
But there's 12 hours in a day. Even if you do it multiple times.
Again, this is one of those things that like we're always going to disagree on.
The coincidence thing?
Because I don't think that's big enough. Like you have to, you have a movie that has 0 moments that can connect, I don't say connect, that can connect in a far enough way that seem like a coincidence.
So, okay, well, let me back you up there, because I'm not saying that this
you don't know how many days
thing,
he's been doing that.
This single thing does not make this movie bad or anything like that. I'm pointing, even this single isolated event that the greater thing of him going and finding this, if that was my only problem with it, this would not be a bad movie. I think I bring it up because every script should strive to be perfect, right? They never will, but they should always strive for it. And part of, I think, what would make a perfect script, and fight me on this, is that everything syncs together logically and doesn't have these big gaps where you think to yourself, oh, it's pretty unlikely that would happen, especially when you have long chains of them.
Unlikely is fine. You make movies about unlikely events.
Well, yes, that's true. I'm saying it's hard for me
I
to
always think you're a little too nitpicky on certain things, and that's just one of them.
Yeah, but like I said, this thing by itself is not a deal breaker for me. But and I wouldn't even bring it up if it didn't already have a bunch of layers of unlikeliness that tied this whole thing. The unlikelihood that he would go there, the unlikelihood that he would notice, the unlikelihood that the dad would do it at the same time. All those things stacked up together make one nitpick for me.
Yeah. And
so that's what I'm saying.
I think that there's a lot of I think it's good to have parts in some movies where you go, oh, that's cool. And you get those by having...
You don't need to have coincidence to make those, oh, that's cool.
But
moments.
I'm saying from that kind of situation, I don't even like to necessarily use the word coincidence because... When it's something that kind of minor, I just see it as this led up to this, that led up to this. You can maybe consider coincidence, but when it's like one big thing after another, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, that's ridiculous, man. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's on a whole different scale. So I mean, I
know it's a different scale.
Yeah.
I just even fight you on the fact that I don't think that will be removed in a perfect script, but that's my opinion.
Ooh. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's fine
because I think it adds a little bit of a surprise in a good way.
Again, but you don't need coincidences to get surprised. That's not a required.
This specific one added the surprise in a good way. That's what I'm saying. I think that the way it was done, adds it in a good way.
In an objectively lazy way.
I disagree.
Because he just, I need this character to be here. What's my reasoning?
What would you have done? Fix it.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me clarify this. If we call ourselves critics, which is probably giving ourselves too much credit, but let's just, for the sake of argument, call ourselves critics. It's not our job to fix movies or write them for them. It'd be fun if we do. I have some ideas about.
Yeah, but we're different. This movie podcast is not like any other movie podcast. You said you don't want to talk movie every other movie podcast. You want to really dig deep. If you want to change something, I want to know an example.
No,
and it might take you a while. Look, I'm not saying that you have all the skills to write a movie. I think you can write a good movie.
I don't. Thanks.
I really do.
And I'm not. Me nitpicking this movie is not saying I think I could write a better movie than Bong Joon-ho, for example. I don't think that.
I don't think it's fair to you for me to be like, oh, you should fix it. But I am curious as to what would be better because
there are options where I have thought, what would I do if I were writing this? Like the movie, I don't know if you saw it, came out in like 2016. Passengers. It had Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. I had a whole rewrite for that movie that I liked because that movie has a really cool idea. It's not all that super original, but it is a cool idea, and they just go somewhere completely stupid with it. And so I have another idea where I thought would be a lot better. But so that's an example of where I would want to rewrite it. But this is, I mean, like I said, it is a small thing.
And you're not wrong for not having an answer for it. I just think that if there's issues with anything in life in general, like if you have an issue with something, I think it's always interesting to find out, all right, cool, if you have an issue with that, how would you solve it? Because it kind of backs it up, a little bit. And I'm not saying you don't have any. You have a reason. I get your reasoning. I just disagree with it. So next episode, if you have a way to fix it, you got a week, bud.
All right, I'll think about it. But I guess just in general, what I'm trying to avoid is that's a common way for people when they're arguing a point to say, well, if you think it's so bad, just what would you do that was so much better?
Fair.
That's a very easy argument to try to make, but it's not a real argument against it because that's not, you don't, I could just say, you don't have to be a good chef to know when you taste bad food.
Yeah, and just because something you think that something could be done better doesn't mean you know the exact way
have an answer for it on the spot.
I understand that, but I just disagree, and I think that it was still that specific part was done well. But regardless, I want to go into a couple other specific things. Let's see what I have written down here. Oh, I'm wondering about if some of the captioning, because it was a foreign film, if some of it was lost in translation. It seemed very, very straightforward, and I didn't feel like I was reading something that didn't make sense. But there was when they talked about, and this just could be, I just found this interesting. This isn't about it necessarily being lost in translation, but in the captions, they called Native Americans Indians. And then they called them later in the movie. They said American Indians because Indians are people from India.
Yeah.
And then they specifically later called them American Indians.
I don't think that was so much of a
Indians.
translation. Maybe the term Indians referring to Native Americans in Korea doesn't have the same stigma or taboo around it. I mean, it's not that taboo of a thing to say now. You should probably not use it if you can avoid it, or if you're, for depending on the thing. But the whole, I guess, idea that the kid was so fascinated with Native Americans, you could kind of point as like a fault of the dad of the rich dad to an extent. Maybe he shouldn't have been letting his kid have such a narrow viewpoint of American Indians, of just viewing them as like the bad guys kind of a thing.
Viewing them as Indians, like if the term it might not even have a different term. They just might mean the same thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you mean.
Anyways, the only reason I bring up the translation thing is because I was listening. What? I was listening to another podcast, and they said something about, things not being perfect. Example, it's a foreign film, so some of the script and stuff can get lost in translation. And I was like, I didn't really notice that, and then it just made me curious. Like, I wonder if there were certain lines that were just. Because, when you translate things, we put words in different orders, putting adjectives before, all that kind of stuff. Like, if there were certain things that kind of got moved around, like if it was just a little different just because of the script. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about.
No, I agree. Now, obviously, neither of us know Korean, but from what I understand of English in general is that it's much more kind of flowery and has much more just kind of useless words. Like, just an overabundance of just extra stuff to really like dress up your sentences and stuff like that. So sometimes if you're in a movie and you expect dialogue to be of a certain, to kind of, it's almost like when you're reading a book, which I don't have a lot of experience in, but when I did, sometimes some authors would go on for pages talking about how a mountain looked or a scenic thing or something like that in the background, and some authors would just say there was a mountain there. You know what I mean? So English kind of gives you the ability to do either. I don't know if the script wanted to go more flowery and extra with their dialogue, or if that was lost in translation. I don't know. So I mean, if you're kind of expecting that, especially if you go into the movie, knowing there's a lot of hype around it, or that it won a best original screenplay, especially, you might be kind of expecting that. But I don't think it was a detriment to it at all.
It was a pure curiosity question. I don't think how it was. Everything felt normal and natural as I was, reading the subtitles and everything. I'm just curious if they were like, if things were a little different in the original script, not even like not plot wise. I'm just saying that like specific just sentences, how different that was. Just an interesting thing because I don't watch a lot of foreign films.
I just remembered
what's up?
The poor son totally cucks his friend who left for college.
Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about that too. He's not a good friend.
Yeah,
dude.
what a and he never
like. And it's very specific, which is another thing I think you're supposed to feel bad, not feel bad for the family, think that they're not a good family. Because later when they're all sitting down in the rich people's house having the time of their lives while they're out of town, he said the specific line of that his friend said, I'm going to ask her to marry me or something, or officially be mine, I'm sorry, whatever, when she goes into university or whatever. I was like, you're horrible, bro. You're so bad.
That might be part of the poor family's way of like, it's almost like a subconscious thing of him basically going like, oh man, I wish, like because that probably wouldn't really work, right? If he did try to start a relationship where she was university, his lie would fall apart at that point because he can't afford to do any of the things that she could do. He's not. It's like let's go to your school or spend time where you are, and he doesn't have a place. That would fall. I think what part of that sentence specifically was about was him putting himself in the shoes of where he would like to be, of the rich university student, and he's basically like living in that moment for a second, lying to himself.
I think he was going to try, though.
He might have, yeah. I don't know.
I think he was so deep in that he was like, I can get away with this. I can get away with anything.
Yeah, that's the mentality.
They were kind of half drunk, but they were talking about hiring like fake actor parents when she's got to meet the parents. That was, kind of just being funny. But one specific thing was that I thought was weird, which maybe is too much of a coincidence at this point, actually. I know, right? When they were in the car and he was trying to get they were getting the original driver fired to get the dad the job as his driver.
Mm-hmm.
And they found like the girl's like panties in the car or whatever.
Ew.
And then he talks to his wife about that situation and was like, it makes me think about the state that he was in to even do that.
Yeah.
And then he whispers to her and she goes, oh, cocaine or meth or whatever she said. I think they said meth and cocaine. Okay. And I was like, where did you get that idea? Like, you're thinking that the guy like was with some girl in the car
mm-hmm.
and did stuff in the car. And all of a sudden you go to meth and cocaine. Like, there was no evidence of drugs. It was like, I wonder about his state when he that made him think that was okay.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh my gosh, meth. Like, I was
to
like,
play
what
devil's
are you...
advocate, I think that's a common like rich person kind of trope where when they see a poor person and something happens, they automatically jump to the worst conclusion.
Or jump to like or like drugs is maybe a big thing.
Yeah. It's like,
lead things into stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's our driver and he's doing this kind of stuff in there. What else could he be doing? Could he be doing drugs?
I guess.
In there?
It just
Poor
seemed like
people
they
do
like
drugs.
escalated it like out of nowhere, and I was like, where are you
that made me
getting
think,
this
is
from?
meth big in Korea? I thought meth was like a white trash hillbilly
It
drug.
was just weird.
And think a lot of Koreans were getting high on meth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it has a bit of... I'll tell you what, though, when she's riding in the car with the driver and she, like, you know, kind of stealthily takes off her underwear, my mind jumped to like, I thought that she was going to, like, try to get this guy in trouble for, like, something way worse than she does. As far as, like, I thought she was going to try to claim that the driver, like, tried to, like, sexually assault her in the car. And I was like, oh, my God, you're going to, like, ruin this guy's life. Like... Oh, man. Yeah.
Still stole away his job.
It was a clever plan. I mean, yeah, it's still shitty, but that would have been obviously a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, and another part that okay, and maybe this is some foreshadowing.
Ooh.
Because that poor family, after they were back in their apartment, like they were kind of celebrating, things were going well,
mm-hmm.
and another guy comes to like pee on their like by their front window or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, the son's like, I'll go take care of this, I guess, becoming like, you know, like his friend, like stand up for his family. He grabs that big rock. I was like,
mm-hmm.
is he just gonna go hit him with the rock? Like take him out? I was like, dude. I was like, and his family didn't even seem to care for a second there, and then it was like, oh no, take this.
I mean,
like,
that's definitely foreshadowing. I mean, because
then he gets hit by the rock later.
Definitely, like, you know, like what do they call it? Chekhov's gun, I think, is the whole thing where, you know, they showed it very distinguished, like very, you know, prominently in an early scene, and it's like, you know, that's going to be used for something, and then he uses it to kind of threaten the other guy. Pretty unsuccessfully. The guy tries to pee on him.
Yeah. Another thing is that I thought was kind of ridiculous. Again, we're being nitpicky at this point.
It did win 4 Oscars, so I feel like we could be a little nitpicky on this, if nothing else.
When someone shows up at the house and we find out that it's the old housekeeper and the rest of the family has to hide.
Mm-hmm.
That house is so big. They could have ran upstairs to hide, and they hide just right around the corner by the bottom of the stairs behind these like bushes and little like wooden kind of walls, right? Mm-hmm. And so much so, they let the housekeeper come in while they're hiding right there.
Yeah.
And she turns the other way and goes, I'm like, yo, go upstairs. Go hide upstairs.
Yeah.
For 2 seconds. I was like, this is ridiculous.
They just shouldn't have let her in the first place. They had a very good reason to keep her out. I mean, because you could just say,
you got fired. I'm not allowed to. The
you're
family's
fired.
not
This
home.
is not my house. I work here. I can't have somebody who got fired come back into the house. That's a huge risk. That I do kind of think that's a little bit.
People are dumb. They had a little bit to drink. Like, sure, they made that decision. That's not a detriment to the movie, but they shouldn't have let her in. No, of course they shouldn't have.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but the fact they were hiding, it was a good shot to show like them hiding in the corner while she walked in. But I was like, it doesn't make any sense. If you really were like worried about it, dude, run upstairs.
So
hide
would you
upstairs.
argue that this is a problem with the script? Because obviously, right, when you're writing the script, he needed that character to get inside the house.
Depends on how much they look at the script. Now, what I mean by that is, that might not have been specifically in the stage directions of family hides around corner. It could have said family
not
hides.
that part. I'm saying them letting her into the house.
Okay, because I was going to be like, that could have been a director issue, though. The fact that they, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
that they were so close and they didn't hide somewhere better. Yeah.
and does that look? There's problems with every movie.
No, there are. I'm saying
this for myself. I was like, of course, I said that could be a director issue. There's problems with every movie. I'm not saying you shouldn't have one director or whatever. But what I'm saying is, I guess we're talking about the script now. No, I wouldn't say it's a script issue necessarily, because I agree they shouldn't have let him in. They had a good excuse not to, but with them being confused, them being, slightly drunk and being like, well, we just want to try to make the best of the situation. Sure, we'll quickly do that. Let her in. I don't know. It wasn't a big enough deal that I even think that it was a bad script.
I mean, there's definitely, and you could probably say this about everything. There is a better way that they could have made that happen, I'm sure. And especially if you wanted to use the alcohol side of it, they probably could have showed them be a little bit more inebriated so that they're real. Because I didn't get the vibe that they were so far gone that they would make such a obviously poor decision. But again, we are being nitpicky on this issue. But since you brought it up, I figured I'd ask just to kind of get the brain cogs moving. And so
can I say something that I thought was really funny?
Yeah.
Was when they let the kids sleep outside in the tent and it was like storming outside, and he was like, oh, I think it's gonna be okay, and the mom goes, yeah, we order it from the US, it'll be fine. I was like, I don't know why I found that so funny, but I was like,
yeah, I was about to say I would not feel that way.
They have like an affinity that was supposed to be a comedic line, or like they just have an affinity to like US products and they think that the stuff made in the US is like really top notch, which,
well, yeah, I mean, ideally it should be, because we pay a lot for labor here in comparison to other places, but most of the time you'll find that it's not all that great.
Yeah, I hated the family when they pushed the dog.
Push the dog.
They were at the house and they were all around that table.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
she shoved the dog away. I was like,
a bunch of little dogs around.
I hate you. And then one of the last big things that I had written down that I want to talk about was, when they were talking about how the kids saw a ghost. Oh, and they showed that scene.
It's pretty creepy, actually.
That was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
I saw it and I started laughing because it was so scary. Yeah. I was like, that I literally said, I was home alone. I paused the movie. I said, out loud, I was like, that is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
That dude slowly come the stairs with his eyes bugged out. They hired somebody that could do that with their eyes.
Probably,
you could tell that would just looking so creepy. That poor kid.
Let's actually, because that reminds me, let's talk a little bit about the guy trapped in the basement, the husband of the former housekeeper, who ends up going on a kind of a murder spree, because he's kind of an odd. Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's not meant to be normal.
Slightly insane because he was living down there for so long.
But that's the problem with the insanity argument, is that you can write anything that you say can be an issue with like character motivations. You can just go, he's
so
insane.
This sounds like The Lighthouse.
A little bit, yeah.
So you have issues with this movie now. That's like I said.
No, I've always had issues. Are you saying I have issues with The Lighthouse?
Yeah, because like I said, people go insane, and it doesn't give you an excuse to be able to do anything. That was my issues.
And that was with specific shots that I don't think make sense. I'm talking about, but I don't have that issue with character motivations for the characters.
Okay.
I do think that when you mess around with characters going nuts, what I'm saying is that you can have them do anything for any real reason.
Gotcha.
For example, he idolized the rich dad.
Yeah.
Why exactly? Shouldn't he be in the same boat as all the other people as far as the poor family and everyone else? I mean, he's in a worse situation than they are.
Yeah.
I'd say pretty significantly. Yeah. And I think that's actually a funny thing, because the people they find in this entire story that are in the poor family find in this entire story that's in a worse situation than them, they treat even worse than the rich family's treating them.
Yeah.
It's just another layer of like, man, if you have anything over anybody, I guess you're just going to treat them like absolute shit.
Yep.
But why does he idolize the rich dad? He has a bit of a speech that I can't
because
fully
probably
remember.
hears him coming home, and that means that like, I don't know specifically the dad though. It is
very
weird.
Much, and even when he's dying on the ground, he's looking up at him and he's like, "I love you." Basically, it's a little ridiculous. And
I get
naturally
I get
write
maybe
it off.
idolizing the family because, like, in a weird way, they provide him food because he's wanted by this, like, because he owes money, so it's like he gets fed by them, but it's not directly by them because she steals them food.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, they're home, they're providing me food. Like, I get how you can slowly get to that point.
You could say the same thing for the other point, and I think it would make more sense. You could say he would hate this family because he has to steal their piddly scraps from their, and from that she
but he
throws
knows,
away for
I
him
think
and
he
stuff
knew,
like
at
that.
least when he was more sane, that he had to hide.
Mm-hmm.
So at least he's under this house that he can get food from and be somewhere no one. So maybe that's why it went that way. Sure, if something else really small happened, it could have completely shifted the other way. And I guess that's the problem with when you have somebody going insane. Every little thing can shift you in a different direction. But
I guess it's just another one of those things where if this movie had spent, I don't know how exactly it would have done it, but if it could have really sold the idea that he was infatuated and it made sense truly, and maybe there's some stuff I'm missing here. I'm not going to make this point as heavily as I made the one about the poor dad killing the rich dad. But if they had spent a little more time with that, I think that this payoff could be better for it. Though, so it's just weird that he is.
So another thing, I want to go back to this kid, the rich kid.
Yeah.
The boy who saw this thing and was traumatized. I would have been so traumatized.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, that could make sense why. That was what caused his first panic attack, right?
Yeah. So I cannot. It just blows my mind. I cannot imagine, because then every year after that, they make sure they're not at the house, and then the 1 year for his birthday, they got to be back at the house. It happens again. Yeah. At that point, I was like, dude, this poor kid, dude, like spends all those years afterwards trying to be not at the house for his birthday. The parents try, and then the 1 year they're back, that happens. It's coincidental, sure. Another thing that's kind of coincidental, which I don't think she knew about this, when she, unless maybe he told her, maybe she kind of found a way to get some information out of the kid. I don't know. But when the poor girl was acting as his art therapist, and she was saying the bottom corner was always black because something happened, traumatized him. She's like, did something happen to him in the first grade? Did she randomly pick a year? Because that was the time that he saw that the creepy dude and had that panic attack. Was that a coincidence that happened? She had to have figured something else out. Well, she had to have.
When they talk about it later, she just said that she had Googled art therapy
and then made everything else up,
kind of making stuff up as she goes.
That's a big coincidence.
That is a big thing. I don't remember that part quite well enough, and I don't have any notes to reference to as far as
I do remember her saying a specific year, when he was, I think she said first grade. I don't remember, but and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, how did you know?" It's like, I don't know. How did she know? I don't know if the kid opened up or if she just made it up, but that was interesting. I have one more point unless you have something else.
No, go for it.
Pretty much the last thing I want to address.
Mm-hmm.
More people should have died in this movie than did.
Are you saying they deserved it, or
no? Like the main kid, the poor guy. He should have died when his head got smashed in by a rock. Twice.
Yeah.
The fact that when she got kicked down the stairs and slammed her head against the wall, I was like, oh my gosh, I think she killed her. And then she didn't, but she died from that later.
Yeah.
This kid got smashed, his head smashed into a rock, bleeding out way more than the woman was.
And he didn't even have any long-term, I mean, he was in a coma, but from what I understand, he didn't have any long-term ramifications from that.
He might have had some long-term, they didn't address it too much.
He definitely wasn't paralyzed or...
He was laughing at everything.
Yeah.
I go, origin for the Joker? I think I know. I was like, this is the origin. This is the Joker
Korean Joker.
Story.
Yeah.
But
wouldn't
he
that be
shouldn't
great?
have survived that.
What if that was the payoff of this movie? Is that it just goes straight into No, but I mean, like that, the back of your head where
and it was
think
bleeding out, dude.
Yeah,
they were showing a lot of blood on the ground. That was ridiculous to me. The fact that he survived that. I guess that's it. I was saying a lot more, but I'm thinking the lady. I thought that she was going to die, which she did from complications of a very severe concussion.
Yeah,
but
and the sister died.
The fact that she died,
and then I guess the other husband, the husband of the former housekeeper, he also died.
Yeah.
It's a little.
So, that's all the stuff. But I would say overall, I did think it was good. I did enjoy it. I thought it was good.
I think you.
We just like to go crazy and talk about a bunch of nitpicky things.
I mean, and like I said, especially since, and I'm kind of because we watched this movie after the Oscars went by and everything like that. So maybe if I had seen it in theaters back last year, I probably would be a little bit nicer to it. You shouldn't. What I'm saying, I'm giving myself a bit of an excuse for being so nitpicky. But the fact that I watched it after the Oscars did kind of already put me in a mindset of, okay, I'm expecting this to be a really good movie because it literally made history by being the first foreign film to ever get Best Picture. So I'm expecting a hell of a movie. Yeah. And I didn't quite get that. That's a little unfair, I will admit. But I do think that my points are valid as far as I
thought it was good. I just think that, well, here's my kind of final question, actually.
What do you think should have won Best Picture?
What do you think out of what was nominated should have won?
I go back and forth. Yeah, because
I'm going to give you guys an answer based on what I've seen, and this could change. Mm-hmm. But I will give you an answer based on the movies that I have seen. But I want to know your answer first because you were so eager to say.
I am torn between Marriage Story and Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
Because it's weird. I've actually, I think Marriage Story had a more like lasting impact on me. As like I've thought about it a lot more. Once Upon a Time, I had a lot of fun watching it, and it's just a good, like I was talking about, self-contained. The story is just great, but there was nothing really for me to hold on to with that movie. So I mean, I didn't really think much about it past it. Marriage Story, I don't know. That movie gripped me, and I watched it multiple times, and I could again, even though it is a story so kind of dour almost. So I think I would have probably gotten into that. I don't think, did either of them win Best Acting?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. It's a little nuts, honestly, but
I would have chosen Marriage Story.
Okay, yeah, you definitely would have. Okay.
I don't know. It was very well done. Real raw emotions. Yep. Connected with it. Made me feel stuffs. And yeah, I mean, just a lot of the elements. I think that the writing was really good. I enjoyed the story. So part of it is, I am trying to look at it very objectively, and even objectively speaking, I think I would still give it to that. But it does have a nice bonus that subjectively I really liked it compared to some of the other ones that I watched. Not that I didn't like them, but I'm just saying, more so.
I definitely would. I think I would have rathered Marriage Story have won Best Original Screenplay over Parasite, because I think. Yeah, the script is just really fucking solid.
And it's a really well, like, and you take in the idea of like we're like the originality of a script too, like the storytelling of it. It's a very different kind of quote unquote love story about, or just even if you would just want to call it a straight up divorce story, it's very different view of that. Yeah, compared to what I think we've seen.
Well, but in other ways, it's also something incredibly common, and to make an intriguing story out of something as mundane as kind of divorce and marriage are, they're very average, normal things.
Yeah, and like you said, I see myself watching it again.
Yeah. And Parasite. I mean, Parasite was fun, or even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I compared it to. I will probably watch that movie again as it comes on and stuff like that.
Which were, I guess, well, if you're arguing between those, then it's not even a question. I was going to say, what are the order of them? But I guess you said Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time, Parasite.
Oh, is Parasite my number 3?
Well, I'm saying out of those 3, but
yeah. What about Joker, dude?
I don't know if I would. Not that I wouldn't rewatch Joker.
I rewatched Joker, yeah.
But
what about The Irishman, man?
I still haven't seen it. I gotta watch it. But it didn't win anything, did it? I don't think it won anything.
No, it did not.
Got nominated for a bunch of stuff, and I don't think it won anything.
I think it only got 2 nominations. Supporting actor, I think, for what's it? But
cool.
That's about it.
Cool.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, alrighty, that is Parasite. That is the what?
Laura Dern did win Best Supporting Actress for Marriage Story.
You're right.
So it did get something.
You're right.
So there you go. Boom.
All right. That's it. Are you done? Any more to say there, brother?
I think we pretty much did it.
That is the brother of movies for Parasite for you.
I'm sorry?
That's the brother view of the movies.
That's Parasite's movie, brother.
Yep,
one of those. We'll pick one.
So, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
www.audibletrial.com/That's Movies Brother.
Go follow That's Movies Brother on Instagram.
Ooh, big. That's a big assumption y'all made that.
And Go follow me on Instagram, Tyler
Yep.
C. Gillette.
And we got.
I'd let Nate
Just a little
plug
sneak
himself.
peek. Hold on. Little sneak peek. Something's coming for Snowpiercer. If you're mad at me because of the Snowpiercer thing, I got something working. So
And go
stay
follow
tuned.
Nate on Quora.
Yeah. No, honestly, do follow me on Quora. I got like half
Because he
a
doesn't
million.
have any other social media.
Alrighty. Yep,
All right.
that's it.
Zip. 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 Zip.